Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, we hear from Red Raider head coach Grant McCasland on how his team has grown to this point in the season and a significant shift on a sport that is on the move. We'll get to it next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
It's great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to see you once again, man, and we're running the gamut today. Football conversation to be had near and far, and we're starting on a basketball front as we'll get to Red Raider head coach Grant McCasland preparing for Kansas State to come to town after some interesting results in the Big 12 last night. Only a few teams left without a loss in the loss column, and one of those is right here in Lubbock. Another will be here in Lubbock coming up on Saturday. So let's kick it off with a thought from Coach McCasland. As we were talking about yesterday, in some ways, what we saw on what we saw on Tuesday against Oklahoma State and what we've seen develop as a trend for Texas Tech whenever it comes to clean basketball and sharing the basketball. How you doing that? Was a simple question that was put forth on yesterday's program. And Coach McCasland did spend some time following the game on Tuesday night talking exactly about how this has come to be. Here's Red Raider head coach Grant McCasland.
Well, this team can share the ball. And I think on some teams, you have one or two guys that handle the ball like almost all the time. I think this group, we're starting to share the ball well. You got three guys with more than 4 assists, and we look at it, you know, a lot of ball movement. And over the course of the game, I think our guys are comfortable with sharing the ball. They're comfortable. And sometimes you don't touch the ball very often, so you turn the ball over when you get it just because you're not – that's where I think our team has grown. We're really trusting each other.
What was the hardest thing to learn as a youngster? I'm sure you were no different than me. It's like when you're sitting in the corner playing with the latest Fisher-Price toy or the – I don't know what – insert toy here when it's like – and – you go over and you grab Billy's toy and you like want to play with it too, but you still want your toy as well. And then Billy's gets pissed. And then the little teacher comes over there and maybe there's a little like, hey, no, we need to share. And you're like, you're just like, I'm not having it. Like,
I don't know about this.
What is this sorcery? I mean, I want all the, well, basketball players are, man, they're no different in that sometimes it's difficult to crack the code there and to pass the ball being good for me. How is this good for me? Like all I see is like scoring it, putting it through the hoop. This is what's good for me. This is what gets me drafted. This is what gets me on the highlights. This is what, and I think what Grant's been able to do is it really get them to grasp and understand that sharing it benefits all, and everybody eats, and winning is ultimately what gets you on the highlights or makes the news, those kinds of things. But it is not easy to do, and they're very willing. I mean, I think we've all played, and I tried not to be like that when I was playing basketball, but like I think about how many post players in basketball in general do you see when you feed it in there like, boy, it ain't coming out, man, black hole, like that ball is going up. I mean, right. he ain't spitting that thing back out. And yet Warren Washington, yeah, there's a few times where he's looking to take a shot, but he is more than willing to hit a cutter, to find an open 3-point shooter. And I think, because Grant, one of the things he said also with the comment that we just heard and saw, our whole offense is based on sharing and great decision making. So then you have, we have to have you be willing to pass it, share it, and understand that concept. But now we have to have guys that are good with it. You could have a willing passer all you want, but if they're just no basketball IQ and they're like trying to force it through 3 people or thread the needle, then that concept doesn't work. Well, fortunately, you have you kind of have a lot of what's going on here is willing and smart, and they've just done and I think Grant has talked about back in the summer, whether this was him or Dave Smart or Matt Breyer or Coach AC or Barnwell, or concept of both, because Grant is really deflected toward his staff. We have these drills where it's a two dribble max. Like you can hammer it twice and you got to give it up, And so with that, it teaches a mentality to be a willing passer, to give the ball up, to keep the ball moving. I mean, how painful was it last year when you'd watch the ball get stuck, or you see somebody dribble it for 25 of the 30-second shot clock and then just heave it up? And a lot of times that worked, but it's just this is much different, because I don't think we rarely have seen the ball just stick, and then you get, okay, I have to force up a bad one.
Yeah, and that seems like some old-timey black and white kind of basketball as I'm listening to you describe it, because of how prevalent a one-on-one approach to basketball kind of is now. ISO, clear out. No, let's swing it around, boys. Let's swing it around. And I think you touched on something on yesterday's show, or maybe 2 days ago, that sort of is all-encompassing to this conversation, the thought of being egoless. I mean, you really got to have guys who are putting the team ahead of themselves to understand all of what you're describing, right?
Yeah, not selfish, man. And, okay, so two things. One, I think Grant was very purposeful, and their staff was, about who they brought in here. They wanted these kinds of guys, because I think about the criticism when this roster was put together was, man, it looks like we've put together a roster full of role players. And I think that largely is true. However, he's taken them and squeezing more out of them than they have previously given you, but you also don't, you don't have anybody trying to dude, this is my team, man. We're playing through me. And yeah, there's certain guys that absolutely need to score. I mean, Pop and Joe need to carry it at some level, need to score. Warren Washington and Darion Williams, they need to rebound, for you. That's part of the recipe for how you would win. But, I think, the ISO stuff, you don't really also, let's just call it what it is. You don't have anybody good enough on your team to need to throw the ball to 10 to 15 times a game and clear. Hey, yeah, get out the way. Hey, everybody, and they start licking their shoes, and the defender's like, okay, he's about to drive to the, I know what's coming.
Right.
You don't have this person. And so, but I think that the team, and sometimes the players are the last to know, but I think the guys on the team, they realize this. They realize that each other is their best, way to win, and using everybody, and that's why it's kind of so balanced right now. But a lot of fun and easy on the eyes, man. A lot of fun to watch. No
question about it, and a style that is probably going to lift this team, hopefully, or any team, just a degree, just a notch above maybe what their talent would justify as far as an expectation. So maybe we've seen that already. Maybe we'll see it more.
And Cal, when you look at it, even last night's results, I mean, Oklahoma, top 10 in the country, goes into TCU and gets hammered. The Jayhawks, I thought Central Florida is only a 2 or 3 point underdog, or 4 point underdog against Kansas. I'm like, what is going on here? Yep, lollipop, you got smacked, Jayhawk. They went home sad, and ball don't lie, I guess, after the shenanigans at Allen Fieldhouse this past Saturday with a fake flagrant foul or whatever it was. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, so Kevin McCullough had more turnovers individually than Tech had as a team Tuesday night.
Yep, there you go.
For those keeping track.
Yeah, I mean, and UCF punished Kansas every time they turned it over, and that's what led to a lot of their offense. Bottom line is, after 2 games for everybody, you're left with 3 teams that haven't lost a conference game. 3 out of 14. And 2 of them will play in Lubbock on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I can't wait for that, and can't wait for our conversation tomorrow as we'll set the table for Tech and K-State Saturday afternoon from United Supermarkets Arena. As for now, we will pivot to significant news in the college football world. First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime, and you shouldn't have to sweat it out when buying tickets to your favorite events, and with Gametime, you won't, because it's always a breeze. Using the Gametime app, where you're going to find killer last-minute deals, views from every seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it begins, which means Gametime is the place to find last-minute seats for any event. The fastest, easiest way to buy tickets, and not just fast, but it's also secure and simple to use when you download the Gametime app. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime by downloading the Gametime app, creating an account, and then use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's Locked On College, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our promo code Locked On College for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today for last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. As you may be aware by this point in time, the most successful college football head coach ever has apparently decided to hang it up. And some have questioned, obviously, what's going into this decision and whether or not this different kind of modern age of college football has, quote-unquote, run off the great Nick Saban. I don't know how much I'm buying into it. Maybe it's on the list of things. I'm still a little conflicted as to how I feel about that, but of course, get you to thinking about what you've got going on here locally in the LBK with Red Raider football head coach Joey McGuire, and a question of whether or not McGuire is a modern enough man for this era of college football. When we're talking about these things, or this new era is distasteful to maybe an old head or something like that, what exactly are we talking about, Chris? Is it NIL? Is it transfer portal? Is it some of all of the above? What do you make of that kind of thing?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. You know, when that news came out, man, I'll be honest. I was, and maybe I shouldn't have been, but personally, I was shocked. I just wasn't prepared for it, just because Nick Saban is all that we've really known as far as that's the standard.
Yep.
In this sport. Really, it's been that way because he's won a national championship in 3 different decades. If you look for ways to communicate to the younger members of society via sport, he always had something very smart and intelligent to say about how to go about the process and all the things that, you know. So yeah, I was a bit shocked. I was like, whoa. And people are leaving oatmeal pies and Coca-Cola bottles and all that by his statue, and it's like people are like, he ain't dead. But I get that. I mean, I think the state of Alabama, except for Auburn, who's celebrating wildly, that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, they were toilet paper in the trees.
Tumors trees. Yeah, I mean, and that should tell you all you need to know about the impact of Nick Saban. But I mean, I'm sure that state is like it's a massive hangover right now. Going, whoa, it's a shock to the system. Okay, so my thought is, and you and I talked about this before the show about everything that goes on. First of all, you have a national championship coach in Jim Harbaugh that just stood up there after the win of the championship, and basically he's still trying to get players to unionize, and like, we should pay them. Everybody should take a 5 to 10% cut, and we should pay these guys to where everybody else is going, okay, who's running this deal? Right. And you have I just think when you mention NIL, you mention portal, you mention expanded playoff. I mean, Nick Saban's, let's see, his team was in the playoff, the 14 playoff. What is it, 8 out of the 10 years? I think that's right. I mean, 8 out of the 10. I mean, it's just like he had more first-round draft picks. I think twice as many first-round draft picks at Alabama as the head coach as they did losses as a team. I mean, some of the statistics, are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Micah Hudson is your first 5-star high school prospect that you've signed. Nick Saban, while at Alabama, signed 65 of them.
That's it?
I mean, it's
unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly.
And made it work, by the way, because Texas has signed a crap load too, Aggies, etc., and don't make it work. So there's more than just being given keys to the Ferrari. Driving it well is then the other thing, and he obviously did that.
Squeezing as much as you can. I mean, it's what we've been talking about with like Grant lately about, you maximize kids' potential, and you get them to be selfless and all those things. I need to be careful about putting Grant and Nick Saban in the same conversation. Grant would probably be like, "Whoa," and I wasn't trying to do that. I'm just saying same lines of conversation. That's what I meant.
Sure, same logic.
Yeah, but I think that a guy like Nick Saban doesn't want to have to re-recruit those 5-star players every single year, including his whole roster. I think that's a bit tricky, and I think he was slow to the NIL part. I mean, we know that he said hello to Jimbo Fisher. Shout out to Jimbo in that buyout life. Nick Saban went out the right way and made it to the playoff and barely lost to the eventual national championship. Meanwhile, Jimbo was like, I mean, y'all can fire me. Just pay me. I'm out.
What door do you want me to walk out of?
Yeah. I'll go look for another ranch to buy. And so I just think all the sport is changing. We understand that. But it got me to thinking, like, and so I think an old head, in a way, an old school guy like Nick Saban, I think probably just kind of is just like, you know what? I don't know if I just want to do this like this anymore. I mean, my legacy is safe. I've won. I made 100. I mean, Alabama's paid him over 130 or $60 million over his tenure there. I mean, he doesn't want for any money. He and Miss Terry can ride off into the sunset. But I bet he's still in TV and all that stuff. But it got me to thinking, though, you know, about like your head coach and Joey McGuire, and because I think that. Look, Joey's won 15 games and 2 bowl games in his first 2 years. They've recruited at a level that we haven't seen around here really ever, and not just with high school, but with portal and all that, which is the new thing. But, like, it takes a massive amount of energy and willingness to adapt to new landscapes. I mean, we've even seen a new way that staffs and kids are recruited with the organization of the way Texas Tech's. I mean, James Blanchard and his personnel department is something very, very new and outside the box compared to the way the rest of the sport has and has always done it. To be
a general manager,
yes,
it's a new
absolutely.
thing.
And so I just think that as you are in the midst of change, I think Joey is really a perfect skill set for what you have to excel this day and age. You know, I think, you know, are you fun to play for? Is your program holding you accountable? Is there enough coaching? We can't make it so fun that it's just like we're going to let everybody do whatever they want and all that stuff. No, if you go out there at any point, that's a guy that will coach you hard, but he's also going to give you a hug like 2 minutes later and be like, yeah, I hope you understand what, you know, and there's just a relationship. Listen to players talk about the guy, and you'll kind of get it. He's also adapted to NIL and like the portal and willingness to like, okay, I mean, there's all these things out there, and I think he's willing to work with it and just kind of rolls with the punches. And this is what is going to work going forward, in my opinion. It just won't. You can fight it, and that's why, like, I do give credit to like a Mike Gundy, because I think Mike Gundy kind of fought the whole NIL thing for a bit, and just general stuff, but they've still won. But I like Joey's demeanor. I think it's perfectly suited for college football in 2024. And like, there's going to be more old school type thought processes that just kind of go throw their hands up and go, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out.
And I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for those guys, including the greatest to ever do it. An expanded playoff is too much for Nick Saban.
Well,
compensation above board, outside of the shadows, is too much for Nick Saban. What about the shadowy stuff that's been going on? And we'll get to everybody cheating in just a moment. A lot of that, I'm like, miss me with that, man. You're driving the Ferrari, and you've driven it very, very well. But now these are the things that are too much. The strain is too much for you to bear. I get a little lost and maybe a little callous or something like that whenever it comes to those types of things. He's the greatest to do it. So obviously he's got the right to hang it up whenever he wants to hang it up. And by the way, anybody talking about unionization or paying all of these guys, how does that translate? Well, it translates to, okay, cut every women's program. Is that what Harbaugh is wanting to do? Because if we're going down a collective bargaining road, let me tell you something, and it's not just them, but how about a men's tennis or whatever else example you might want to use? Baseball, non-revenue sports, where are they going if we're talking about collective bargaining? Now, that's a conversation for a whole nother show, but I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit too harsh in some of those things, but whenever it comes from a guy that's been at Alabama, and you're like, oh, this era, I don't know. Mike Gundy, kind of the same way. Brother, what made this program, Oklahoma State, into something that wasn't a 2-win team? Cash freaking money. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is just running the cinema. I don't know. Again, maybe another conversation for another day. Chris, let's wrap it up with the fact.
Hey, well, and real quick,
Yeah.
the timing of this was, I'm always fascinated by, like, I don't know if you remember where you were when Bob Stoops, left, because it shocks the system in that, oh my gosh. And I think the timing here pretty fascinating in that I think everybody was caught off guard. He apparently, interviewing potential assistants, had been on an SEC head coach's call earlier in the day. But I think this was, he must have known, because I think what you're going to see was, when the first day of classes were at Alabama, and so all of his players are there and locked in. I think it was maybe middle of this week. So I think that the timing of it, because I mean, if you're Alabama, nobody's going to feel sorry for them, but this is going to be fascinating, the domino effect that this creates within the sport, because you think they're going to promote some coordinator somewhere? I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, they're going to go find an acting bona fide head coach somewhere, and so then it creates a ripple effect. But anyway, I'm always fascinated. But yeah, I love where you're going with this next topic, because it speaks about a couple of programs or coaches or whatever that we've already talked about in this show.
I think maybe Alabama should consider giving Mike Shula a call again and see if they can get back to running that textbook racket that they were once upon a time. Yeah, let's wrap up our conversation with something else that may be a little bit hard to hear for some coaches here or there. Is this something that you find distasteful to the extent that you're going to have to get out of it? Is it true at all? First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And football is close to wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with America's #1 sports book and the official sports book of Locked On. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place only a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. So many ways to spice up the action with FanDuel's safe, secure, and easy-to-use app. Are you really even parlaying if you're not visiting FanDuel's Parlay Hub? I doubt it. So get to FanDuel.com/lockedon today. And if you're a new customer, take advantage of $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place only a $5 bet with FanDuel at FanDuel.com/lockedon, official partner of the NFL. Now, there was an article written by Brett McMurphy of the Action Network, just kind of detailing some experiences here or there. But one quote has stood out and gotten a lot of attention. I'll put it on the screen for those watching on YouTube, and I'll read it to you. And this is according to, as Brett McMurphy describes it, an Alabama official who told him at the Rose Bowl last week, quote, "Look, everyone, and I mean everyone, is stealing signs. Michigan was not the only school doing this." McMurphy quotes another anonymous industry source, quote unquote, "Kansas basketball cheats more than anyone, and they didn't do anything to Kansas. The only pure thing in college athletics is Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt sucks. Sorry, Vanderbilt." McMurphy goes on to say that's where college athletics is in 2024. If you're not cheating, you're not trying, or you're Vanderbilt. Again, just apologies to Vanderbilt.
They're catching some strays, man.
Catching some straight shots. But, Chris, that's quite a thought, and I think there's something that I sort of separate in my mind, if we're talking quote-unquote cheating, between sign stealing or duffel bag under the table, gold Trans Am, and a double wide courtesy of Barry Switzer. So I don't know if you separate those things or not, but what do you make of that quote in general? Because you've been around this sport, or I should say this level, whether it's college basketball or college football, for a long, long time. So how'd that sit with you?
I mean, yeah, there's some differences and different layers there in that statement that's made as far as like not doing things the right way, or not things that are supposedly allowed. I'm not shocked at all that the suggestion is made about like stealing signs. I mean, I remember being on the sideline when Tech played at Missouri. This would have been mid 2000. I mean, 2011, 12. I kept trying to remember the time frame there, and I remember it was when I think Tuberville's staff maybe, but I remember after the game was over and you lost a fairly close one. I want to say Seth Dagey was maybe the quarterback and everything, but anyway, I had a graduate assistant standing next to me as the game ended. You lose a semi-close one, and he pointed to a guy like across the way, and he said, "That guy's got our signs." And as soon as the game ended and everybody slowly walks off, that guy immediately, as soon as he points him out, he turns and he sprints up the tunnel. He was gone. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I just like never thought about those kinds of things. But this is the stuff that goes on. I'm with you. Now, the difference with Michigan is they had somebody flying around, or maybe they didn't, but he was flying around. That's the crux. And opposing venues and all that, because I think it's fair game in venue. Like if you're dumb enough and we pick up what you're doing, I mean, that's just baseball too. I mean, that's just part of it. You know, you go out there and, throw at the next batter if you don't like them stealing your signs, or if you think it's bad ball or whatever. But, I think though that the Kansas taking some shots. Yeah. I mean,
love it.
It's pretty, Will Wade was fired. Arizona, their head coach was fired. Bill Self got a 3-game vacation and a lifetime contract. I mean, yeah. And I mean, the Kansas people, it's funny because the Kansas people, I've asked some up there about Adidas. Okay. Just to be honest, okay, Tech's about to go Adidas. What are your thoughts? Give me, and they're like, well, Adidas, they're going to ensure that you are wearing their product anytime you are representing University of Kansas and all these things. But he's like, we all joke about it around here because they've kind of propped up the program for years, and I'm like, see, I mean, and this was the whole. I mean, Adidas was funding their recruiting, I think, in many ways, and it's illegal, and yet the NCAA did nothing to these folks, not one thing. And that's why it makes you a bit uneasy, because I think, like the sentiment says, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I mean, that's kind of what the boss man in Indianapolis has kind of suggested. I mean, it's a free for all in some ways. Yeah. The way it comes off when you don't do anything to a program like Kansas. So.
Yeah, and and shout out to Danny Manning's dad, by the way. Go back to 19. How long does this Kansas thing reach back? Yeah, the baseball thing was on my mind too. I think a lot of this in game, I could not care any less about if you're able to be picked up upon or your signal. I remember at the end of the Mike Leach era, there was like some people complaining like our signals are stale. We're using the same signals. We're still using the crying face or whatever, which Cliff rolled into as well. But that was like a thing. I remember in the final few years of the Mike Leach era, they were talking about people got our signals. We've been using the same ones for a decade. I don't know if there was truth to that or not.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, well, I think it's because people started to figure out ways to defend you, and then it looks like they just know what we're doing. Well, yeah, I mean, but yeah, and this is what you're talking about. This was always fascinating because there was this. Which is like a lighter, okay? And then this, all that meant was early was trips right. So this was just formation, 3 receivers going to the right. If you do this, it's like lighter for left or late or whatever, and they'd send 3 receivers to the left. And yeah, I'd hear people going like, everybody knows what we're doing. I'm like, they don't, it's just a formation. But yes, I mean, and it's because he had this little tiny sheet, and it's like, we can't have but 5 signals on there or 5 plays. Like, I mean, can we mix it up, coach? But this would always be said when you would just have no offense one day, and Oklahoma would just say, not today, man, we're shutting you down. And then, maybe they were just better than you. But yeah, it's just fascinating, the whole signal thing. But I think it's fair game in venue, man. I really do. You can't go flying somebody around and sneaking them on the sideline with a fake mustache and infiltrating, all the stuff that supposedly Connor Stalions did. But hell, that cat ain't ever having to buy a drink again in Ann Arbor.
No.
If you've seen those videos, I mean, it's like the Michigan fans were like, shout out, man. Like I hope you get a championship ring. I mean, it's wild.
All is fair in love, war, and college sports. I think
it seems like
the saying goes.
Yeah.
Great stuff, man. Appreciate the time as always, Chris. Enjoyed it. And we're back on the other side to get ready for more hoops. Tech and K-State on Saturday. So we'll prime you up for that on tomorrow's edition. We'll see you then, man.
Yeah, man. Keep hope alive, everybody. One more day after this one in this week, and a big game coming up on Saturday at the arena. A couple of undefeated Big 12 teams, so should be fun. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning.
Heck yeah. Subscribe on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode, and we hope to see you back here for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.